Hello, this lesson is on fitting a function to data. So let's take a look at some data and then let's find a function that best fits the data in the table. All right, so if we're looking at this data right here, we say, all right, here's x, here's f of x. You just really have to understand x is your input, this is your output, or in other words, this is your x and your y value. So what's happening with the data? Well, so if I start with x equals 0, it's 9.2. Okay, when x is 1, it's 7.3. When x is 2, it's 9.4. So it went down, then it's going back up. So the question is, what type of graph does that? Well, you can say, well, maybe quadratic or absolute value or something. Well, instead of just looking at it by hand, let's plot these points and see what it looks like. So we're going to do all of this lesson on the calculator. So let's open up the calculator. Okay, here is the calculator. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into the stat menu and we're going to put in our values. So we want to go into edit. So we click stat and then we go to edit and click enter. And then we type in our L1, L2, and I typed in L3. This is for a problem we're going to do in a little bit. But if you want, go ahead if you have your calculator and type in all of these values. So press, let me move my cursor so the drag screen doesn't show up. If you press pause and then type in all these values into your calculator, and then when you have them all in, press play, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so here are our values. This is L1, these are the x values, and then for L2, these are the y values, or the f of x values. So it's very important. If you put multiple lists in there, you just have to remember where you put them. Okay, so L1 are my x values, L2 are my y values. So what I want to do is say, all right, let's look at this plot. So I want to plot the stat. So what I'm going to do is go into my y equal or stat plot. So hit second y equals and you see stat plot. So what we're going to do is see plot 1. We want to turn this on. Right now it's turned off. So you can hit enter and you can turn it on. And right there. So then it tells you what is your x list and what is your y list. Well, we want L1 and L2, so we're good. So then we are ready so we can hit enter. So then what we're going to do is hit graph because it's done. So now we can see some points. Well, the problem is our values aren't in a 10 to 10 window or a 10 by 10 window. So what we want to do is we want to zoom in on the stat value. So what we're going to do is click zoom, and then you'll see right there, number 9 is zoom stat. So you can just press number 9 or you can scroll down to it. So I'll press 9. And so there you can see it looks like a parabola. Okay, so what we're going to do is then find what equation is that parabola. And let's see how good it fits. Okay, so to do that, what we're going to do is go back to the stat menu and we're going to do a calculation or a calc. So we scoot over to calc and then we're going to do a quadratic regression. So that's number 5. So we hit enter. And then we make sure our x list is L1, the y list is L2, frequency list is fine, we don't need that. And then store the regression equation. If you want to store it and graph it, I always like to do it so I can see how they fit. You want to put in like y1 or y2 or y3 or whatever. So I'm going to go to, actually click vars. So this pulls up the variables. I go to y vars, function, I hit enter, and then I have my list of y1, y2, y3, so I'll just hit 1. And it will store it in y1 for me. So then I hit calculate, I hit enter, and it does the work. So here is all of my values. So y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Well, a is 1.93 when you round it. B is a negative 3.72. C is negative 9.17. Okay, so you have your A, B, and C values. So what we're going to do is then let's take a look at the graph. When we look at the graph, you can see that the graph, it's running pretty much right through those points. So that is a very good estimate or a regression equation. So that is our equation. So we're going to plug in those values and say, all right, well, we know the equation. So let's go back to the problem and we'll write in the A, B, and C values. So f of x equals 1.93x squared minus 3.72x plus 9.17. Okay, so that's how you can find the function that best fits the data. Type in your points right here and let the calculator do the work. All right, let's look at this next one. This is the last problem. Okay, find the function that best fits the data in the table. Now, this one is a multiple choice problem. So it's one of these four equations. Now, really quickly, when you're looking at these table values, okay, normally we say, ooh, the y-intercept, that's where x equals 0. This has to be the y-intercept. Okay, the only time that might not be exactly true is if you're given a table of values and you find a regression equation. Your regression equation is an estimate, which means it might not be exactly this value right here. So all I'm saying is when you're looking at let's say this is a test question and you have multiple choice questions, notice this one right here and this one right here, they both have 14.2 as the y-intercept, okay? Which means these might kind of be your trick choices or your distractors. So don't necessarily go with those. But let's look at the choices. Notice I have 2 linear choices and 2 exponential choices. So let's go into the stat menu. Let's plot these points and let's do a linear regression and an exponential regression and see which one works the best. All right, so to do that, let's go back to the calculator. Okay, we're in the calculator, so I need to clear out what we just did. So we're going to we're just going to stat. So we're going to the stat menu, and then we see we want to edit it and make sure our values are in there. So again, I already put these in there, and hopefully you already did. If not, put them into L3. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go to stat, calc, and now I want to do a linear regression. So I'm going to choose number 4. And I want, instead of L1 and L2, I want L3 right here. So I need to go to this list. So I go to second stat, which gives me the list, and I want to choose L3. Then I hit enter, and now I have those as my answers. So then I want to store my regression equation. I want to get rid of, I don't care about the quadratic anymore, so I'm going to overwrite that and store it into y1. So here we go. And then I'm going to calculate it. Okay, then what I'm going to do, so here are my ax plus b. So this is the slope, negative 7.2, and then your y-intercept is, notice, 13.6 or 13.57. All right, so now what you notice is back on the questions, 13.57 was one of the y-intercepts. It's not 14.2. All right, so now let's go look at our exponential regression because I've stored this into y1. So now I'm going to do the exponential regression by going to calc, and then it's down at 0. So I can scroll down if you can't see it, or just hit 0 once you've done these enough, and you know where they're stored. So you can hit enter or hit 0, and there you're doing the exponential regression. So here, L1 and L3 are still stored in there. So I'm going to go down, and I want to store this one into y2, because I want to show both of these graphs on the same coordinate plane so that I can compare them. So then I click y2, I hit calculate and go. And then what I need to do now is plot my points, plot those stat points. Right now I have plot 1 graphed, but I want to see plot 2. So what I'm going to do is I can also get there by, instead of going to stat plot, I can go to y equals and see here are my 2 equations that were stored there. But if I move up, notice plot 1 is highlighted. Let's go back to stat plot and let's go into, we can do plot 1. So we'll hit enter. We'll go in and we'll turn the plot on, but we need to change our y list from L2 to L3. So we do that by doing this, hitting enter, and there we have it. So then we're going to go to click graph and we'll plot it. So there are our points, but now notice my points, these both could look really close to each other. I need to zoom stat because it's still zoomed in on the previous one that we did. Because right now you go, wow, they both look kind of good. So what I'm going to do is I hit zoom stat 9, and we'll really see the difference. So here's the linear one, the blue graph, and then here comes the exponential one. All right, you can see the exponential one is actually, the graph is closer to each of those points as it moves, so the red graph is a better estimate than the linear graph, which means I'm going to use the red equation. So again, going back to what the formula was, this had our regression. Where did our regression go? Let me pull it up again. Exponential regression. I'll do it again really quick. I don't need to store it, calculate it. So again, it was our y-intercept instead of 14.2 is 13.6. So going back to our problem, let's find our choice. Okay, so you can see that the choices, it's not the linear ones, and then this 14.2, it wasn't that one, it was this 13.63 one. So this is our correct answer. Okay, so the purpose for this problem was really to show how to put it in the calculator and how to read. Just don't always look at the y-intercept, but you have to understand that the regression equation is an estimate that cuts through those points that fit the data. Okay, so that concludes this lesson on how to fit a function to data. Bye-bye.